Let's talk about cutting our rays and rainbows. Now, much like on the other, when we did our simple curvy weave, we left one side attached just to make our lives a little easier. The circle is going to be what we leave intact on this. So I'm going to flip this little guy around and just start cutting, again, using my lines as a reference, but just wiggling my rotary cutter back and forth until I reach this half circle. If it moves around again too much while you're trying to cut, you can anchor it with some masking tape or blue tape. Do keep your fingers away from where the blade is. We don't want to have any accidents. That's no fun. All right. And I'm trying to cut as close as I can up to that circle. If I need to trim it with some scissors later on, I can do that as well. I don't want to cut too deeply into it, just in case that is the circle that I want to end up using as the actual showing sun. More than likely, I'm going to want to use my other fabric though, so it's really not going to stress me out too much if I cut into it. And if I do nick in deeper than I wanted to, I can always cover it with some thread. All right, so now we have our little rays cut out, with the half circle being our point of staying together. To cut out our rainbows, we're going to do a little bit more of the similar thing like we did with our simple curvy cut. And that's going to be, we're actually going to cut all the way around those lines. So now with the only thing that's going to be different here is with the main circle here itself. I'm probably going to keep this fairly straight, just because I may end up wanting to use the sun. Now you'll notice one of the things I like to do is actually put my blade down and turn my piece. That way I get a nice clean edge without having to worry about the angle of what my hand is and starting and stopping, because the starting and stopping is what you're really going to find, is the more difficult bit. So again, if you want to have straight lines, you can do that, but it's a little bit more fun if we wiggle. So I'm just going to wiggle across those lines back and forth. And again, I am turning my piece as I go because it's more fun that way. And I find it much easier to keep my cutting hand in its comfortable position while the other hand moves my piece for me. And like we did before, I'm just going to kind of keep these guys in order. It's really much easier to know which one goes next in this kind of design than in our other simple curvy weave. And as the lines get longer, it's not as necessary for me to move my fabric because now I'm getting a less of an angle when I'm cutting. Now you can see we're getting to the point where this is going to be the last on this side. Sometimes it'd be better if I was left-handed. So now the next cuts are going to be mainly off to the one side. This will still have a little bit of a connector. But then these guys are super simple because they're just off to one side. So then, much like we did before, off to the side of your workspace, just recreate your puzzle. So that you have all of your rainbows in the order that they're going to go and ready for us to create our half circle weave.